Rain hammered the windshield so hard that Lena could barely see the road ahead. The GPS had stopped working 20 minutes ago. No signal, no route, just static. Her younger brother, Micah, slept in the passenger seat with his hood over his face while their father drove silently through the storm, gripping the steering wheel tighter every mile. "Dad," Lena whispered, staring out into the black woods surrounding them. "I think we missed the highway." "We didn't," he muttered, but he sounded unsure. The road ahead narrowed into cracked pavement lined with leaning telephone poles. Trees crowded closer and closer until their branches clawed across the roof of the car. Then they saw the sign. "Welcome to Blackthorne Population 147. The paint was peeling. Someone had scratched out the number. Underneath it, in faded white letters, another message had been carved into the wood. "Don't let them hear you after midnight." Micah finally woke up. What the hell is this place? No one answered. The town appeared suddenly beyond the trees. It looked frozen in time. A diner with broken neon lights, an old movie theater with boarded windows, rows of houses with their porch lights glowing despite the storm. But there were no people. Not a single person walked the streets. Lena felt her stomach tighten. Every instinct told her they shouldn't stop here. Then the car died. The engine cut out completely. The headlights flickered once, twice. Darkness swallowed the road. A knock echoed against Lena's window. She screamed. An elderly woman stood outside holding an oil lantern. She smiled too wide. "You need to come inside," she said calmly. "It'll hear you if you stay out here." Her name was Edith. She led them through the rain into a 2-story house near the center of town where several other people sat silently around candlelight. Nobody looked surprised to see them. That scared Lena more than anything. A man with a stitched scar across his throat leaned forward. "How long were you driving before you got here?" "What?" Lena asked. "The road," he repeated. "How long?" "Maybe 4 hours?" The room fell silent. The scarred man exchanged looks with Edith. "That means the woods moved again." Lena frowned. "What does that mean?" No one answered immediately. Finally, Edith spoke softly. "You can't leave Blackthorne." Micah laughed nervously. "Okay, I'm serious." Their father stood. "Listen, our car broke down. We appreciate the help, but we'll leave in the morning." At those words, several people in the room looked genuinely horrified. Edith slowly walked to the front window and pulled the curtains shut. Outside, the storm had stopped. The town sat completely still beneath the moonlight. Then Edith whispered, "You don't understand what comes after dark." At 11:47 p.m., the entire town changed. Every house locked its doors. Heavy wooden bars were placed over windows. Candles were extinguished one by one until only darkness remained. Lena watched from upstairs as people hurried through the streets, carrying lanterns back into their homes. No one spoke above a whisper. No one looked outside. At exactly midnight, the church bell rang once. Then came the sound. Whistling. Far away at first, soft, almost playful. Micah moved toward the window. Edith grabbed his arm so hard he yelped. "Do not let them see you." The whistling drifted through the streets below. Then came footsteps, slow, dragging. Lena carefully peeked through a crack in the curtains. Figures wandered through the town, tall, thin, not quite human. Their limbs bent wrong, their heads tilted too far to one side as they wandered beneath the moonlight. One of them stopped directly beneath the window. Lena froze. Its face looked almost normal. Almost. Its smile stretched too wide across its cheeks, splitting upward toward its ears. Its eyes were completely black. Then it spoke in a cheerful voice. "Lena." Her blood turned to ice. "How does it know my name?" she whispered. Nobody answered. Another creature wandered into view. This one looked like a little girl in a yellow raincoat, except her feet pointed backward. "We heard your brother crying earlier," she called sweetly. "Can we come inside?" Micah backed away from the window, trembling. The thing outside giggled. Then all the creatures stopped moving at once. Every head in the street slowly turned toward the woods beyond town. Something moved between the trees. Something enormous. The creatures immediately fled. The whistling vanished. The streets became silent again. Edith looked terrified. "That's new," she whispered. The next morning, Lena discovered the road looped. No matter which direction they drove, they always returned to Blackthorne. North, south, east, west, every road circled back. The same dead crow always sat in the middle of the pavement. The same gas station appeared, the same abandoned school. Always Blackthorne, always the same. By the third day, their father stopped pretending everything was fine. By the fifth day, he stopped sleeping. The town had rules. Never whistle after sunset. Never answer voices outside at night. Never enter the woods. And if you hear knocking beneath your bed, do not look down. People disappeared often. Sometimes all that remained was blood outside their doors. Sometimes nothing remained at all. But the strangest thing was this. No one in Blackthorne could remember how long they'd been there. Not exactly. Some thought it had been months. Others believed decades had passed. Clocks stopped working correctly. Phones displayed impossible dates. One woman claimed she arrived in 1989. Another insisted she'd arrived only 2 weeks ago. Neither had aged normally. It was as though the town existed outside time itself. One night, Lena heard music coming from the old theater. Soft piano notes drifting through empty streets. She followed the sound alone, despite the rules. The theater door stood open. Inside, dust coated every seat. The piano played by itself beneath the stage lights. Then she saw the photographs hanging along the walls. Hundreds of them. Pictures of people standing in front of the Blackthorne sign. Families, couples, travelers, all smiling nervously. Every photo had a date written beneath it, and one frame at the end was empty. A fresh label sat beneath it. Lena, Micah, David. A voice echoed from the darkness behind the stage. "You're not supposed to see those." The scarred man stepped forward slowly. His name was Nolan, and he had been in Blackthorne longer than anyone else. "There's no way out, is there?" Lena whispered. Nolan looked exhausted. "I used to think there was. What is this place?" He stared toward the empty stage. "I think it feeds on fear." Lena frowned. "What does that even mean?" "It learns people," he said quietly. "The creatures outside? They weren't always like that." The cold feeling spread through her chest. Nolan continued. "The town changes people slowly. First your memories, then your hope, then your face." Lena remembered the creature outside, smiling at her window. Its almost human expression, its familiar voice. "No," Nolan nodded. "Every monster here used to be someone trapped in Blackthorne." That night, Micah vanished. His bedroom window stood open. Muddy footprints led toward the woods. Lena ignored every warning and ran after him with only a flashlight. The forest beyond Blackthorne felt wrong. The trees were too tall, the silence too deep. She kept hearing whispers between the branches, not words, just breathing. Then she found the cabin, hidden deep among the trees. Inside were dozens of clocks hanging from the ceiling. Every clock showed a different time. Every clock ticked backward. And sitting in the center of the room was Micah, smiling, relieved. "You came," he whispered. Lena rushed toward him, then stopped. Something behind him moved. A figure stepped from the shadows. It wore her father's face, but its skin stretched too tightly over its bones. Its eyes were hollow black pits. "You shouldn't have entered the woods," it said gently. Lena realized then that wasn't her father, because her real father had disappeared 2 nights earlier. The thing smiled wider. "We were waiting for one of you to break the rules." The cabin door slammed shut behind her. Every clock began ticking faster. Micah started crying, and outside, throughout the forest, whistling echoed from every direction. Lena grabbed her brother's hand and ran. The woods erupted with movement. Shapes darted between trees. Smiling faces appeared briefly in the darkness before vanishing again. The whistles grew louder, closer. Then the forest suddenly ended. Blackthorne appeared ahead beneath the moonlight, but the town looked different now. Older, decayed. Buildings collapsed inward. Cars rusted in the streets. The church bell tower broken in half. Lena stared in horror. "Micah." Her brother pointed silently toward the diner window. Inside sat dozens of people frozen motionless at tables, covered in dust, dead for years. Nolan stepped from the shadows behind them, except now he looked ancient, his skin gray, his eyes sunken. "You finally saw it," he said softly. "This town, it isn't keeping us alive." The realization hit Lena all at once. Blackthorne wasn't trapping people. It was preserving them, feeding on them slowly while making them believe time still moved normally. Nolan smiled sadly. "The moment you enter Blackthorne, you never really leave that first night." The church bell rang. Midnight. Every figure inside the diner slowly turned their heads toward the glass and smiled. The next morning, a family drove down a rain-soaked road through unfamiliar woods. Their GPS had stopped working. A little girl in the back seat looked out the window sleepily. "Mom?" "What?" "There's a sign up ahead." The mother slowed the car. "Welcome to Blackthorne population, 150. Beneath the sign, fresh words had been carved into the wood. "Don't let them hear you after midnight."